Hello and welcome to my June wrap-up. Okay, we're jumping right in because I want to get through this. If you can tell, I'm a little bit congested and I don't want to spend too much time yapping and potentially making myself a little bit sicker. Also, I have to say that this was not my best reading month, so that's kind of disappointing, but I had a lot to do this month. I knew that like my summer months were going to be super busy. It's just everyone's coming out of hibernation and they want to do stuff, and I want to do stuff like outside, so I don't always get to the reading aspects of my hobbies. I also took a trip to Boston, which you can watch me do in my most recent vlog that I posted. I had so much fun visiting my friends, Michaela and Pat, and they took us to so many bookstores, so I was able to add a few books to my ever-growing physical TBR, which was so fun. Yeah, so as much as I am slightly disappointed about not reading as much as I like, I think that it was kind of a good balance of reading and doing things I want to do. The one thing that does kill me is that I didn't get to my buzzword readathon challenge, which was for the title challenge. I was supposed to read Bloodmark by Tracy Dion, but I did not get to this, and I thought about like trying to like kind of cram it in towards the end and like rush through it, but I don't want to rush through this book just to say that I finished it. I want to like take my time and enjoy it. I really loved the first one, and I want to give the second one the like time it deserves, and I think I'll probably still be able to finish this like this summer. I'm going on a trip in like August to a cabin, so hopefully I can bring it then. Now, to get into some of the details, I read a total of 6 books this month. I'm currently still in the middle of reading one, and that is a total of 1,966 pages with an average rating of 2.75, which is not great. I honestly think it's because I have less books and I gave more books like just like kind of 3 stars. There's like one book that's like a 2.5 star that I could probably round up to a 3 star. But let me get into the specifics of what I read this month. The first book I read was Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is about our main character. She kind of grows up in an orphanage, but she has this underlying power. She kind of has like psychic abilities and kind of like heightened intuition, essentially. And this is a world where there are gods, godlike creatures, I guess, godlike people. And then there are like noble people, kings, queens, and then like people below that as well. And then there's like normal people. And there's a very clear like class divide system here, and essentially like the political point of the book is that the people who don't have any godly descent want more rights, kind of want to overthrow the gods and take back the world, I guess. The 2 main characters, which I cannot remember their names, sorry, but they're you know supposed to be romantically involved. I don't think I liked either of their characters, and I think that really obviously like dampened the story for me. I honestly thought like the writing was good, some of the story and the plot were interesting. I liked some of the side characters. It was just like the main characters were just not doing it for me, and that's kind of important. I feel like the main girl, she was just very naive, and I understand that when you're being maybe introduced to a new fantasy world, like how a lot of these fantasy books are, you're not going to know how everything works. Like that I understand, but she grew up in this world. It's not like she like came from a normal mortal realm and then like got placed here, and yet she still was kind of naive in a weird way that I didn't understand. Also, she just did this thing that is like a pet peeve of mine, which is also like being naive in the dumbest way possible. There are clear signs pointing to one answer, and she like refuses to see that because who knows, literally who knows. And I gave this example in the vlog I posted. I read this in my 24-hour readathon, and she was just like, there would be such obvious signs that the main male character was into her, and she would like write them off again and again because she's like, no, who, me, like not me. And I hate that. I hate that character trope. I feel like it is kind of pick me energy. Sorry, it's just not my favorite. And then the guy was just very robotic, and like I don't know, he was so robotic, like the way he spoke. Nothing was romantic. There was no tension. There was no like pull or attraction towards that character for me. I mean, for her, she was living good, so good for her. I think I gave this like a 3 overall 3. It was like fun-ish, and I would have maybe continued in the series however, there is no updates on when the next book is supposed to come out, and this came out like 4 years ago. But then I read another fantasy this month, or actually it's the one I'm still reading, and that one is eons better than this one, and I'm like, I don't need to read anything else about these characters. I have a whole nother world to be in, because they weren't doing it for me comparatively. Next, I read Gone to See the Riverman. This is by Christopher Triani. This is a kind of extreme horror about a woman who is a pen pal with a man who's in prison for multiple murders, and he basically asks her to do a favor for him, get something for him, and then deliver it to the Riverman. This was good. I think I gave this a 3.5, maybe 3.75. I think as far as extreme horror goes, it is definitely extreme horror. I really loved the atmosphere. To me, it gave True Detective season 1, like the Matthew McConaughey season, that kind of like hot southern, like sticky almost kind of vibe. And then it also was very rainy, and they're obviously along this river, and they're going down the river in a boat and stuff. It was just very atmospheric, and there's like a scene where she gets to like the cabin where she's supposed to pick something up for the murderer to deliver to the Riverman, and that was very like well described, like so scenic, like not scenic in a good way, it was like really disgusting, but I just feel like I could like picture it so well, and like smell it. Unfortunately, it was very stinky according to the book, and I feel like that was done so well. My main gripe is that there was like an aspect to the story with the main character and like her childhood that I personally felt was unnecessary. I know that one, this is extreme horror. There's going to be kind of upsetting topics involved. And two, the author was just, I think, trying to portray that the narrator, the main character, was just as bad as the murderer. You know, that is kind of why she like sought him out and like sought him out and was like looking for his like approval and like whatever. Like it was to show that they were kind of on the same level. That being said, it was disgusting. I hated it. And I wish it wasn't included. But I guess it is extreme horror, so I don't know, but I think I would have given a higher rating if that wasn't included. I think they could have got the same message across with a different plot line. That's all I'll say. Check your trigger warnings if you're going to read this. Last thing I'll say is that I think this would be a really, really good movie, sans those parts I was just talking about, but I feel like I could picture everything so well that this would be such a good Southern Gothic, or like, not Southern Gothic, but like Southern horror, like Texas Chainsaw, yes, like that vibe. So yeah, enjoyed that one in general, sort of. Next, I read Yesteryear by Carol Clark Burke. This is the book that I feel like we cannot see enough of. It has been over all of my For You pages across all platforms, pretty much, that I like watch book content on. It is taking the book world by storm, I feel, and I do think this is for good reason. I gave this a 4.5, could round it to 5 stars, and this is about our main character, Natalie. I'm sorry, I never remember characters' names, but she is a trad wife mom influencer. She lives on a farm, and she like posts like baking videos and like life around the farm, but it is obviously a very curated image. She has people working for her that do most of the actual labor, and she kind of just like essentially sets the stage for her content. And then one day she wakes up and it is seemingly actually the 1800s, and she kind of has to cope with the prospect of becoming an actual trad wife in that era. This was so good. I feel like it took me places I did not know where we were going at any point. It was taking me everywhere, and I think a lot of people have a gripe about this book because I think they thought it was going to be more a commentary about being a trad wife in like modern society, what that means, and like what kind of like ramifications there are for culture because of that. Like this kind of like push I feel like that we're having to try to have this like conservative culture with like trad wives, with this idea of like purity culture and like all that BS that I do not abide by. And it was not that. I think it was, if anything, more almost like psychological thriller. And I think if you go into it with that idea, you'll enjoy it more than not. There were a lot of parts where we were, I feel like a lot of the book was actually like the past and like how she got to the point she was at, and less so like her actually in the 1800s, which I thought would annoy me at first, and then I ended up loving it. She is just such a narcissistic, crazy like character that it was so entertaining being in her head, although a little spooky, but it was just, she would just say the craziest shit and you kind of had to laugh, because otherwise, I don't know, you probably pull your hair out. To me, I said this in my vlog that I read this during my 24-hour readathon, and it kind of gave like Gone Girl vibes if she went to, where were they, Idaho or something, and lived on a farm and became an influencer instead of Missouri like she did in the movie Amy. So yeah, highly recommend. Just pick it up and try it. I think this one was really, really fun. Next, I read Beautiful Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And I think I also read this in my readathon. I did a lot in my readathon, and then I feel like I like plateaued with my reading. I believe I gave this a 3.5. I honestly might bring it down to a 3. But this is about a woman who works at an aquarium. She's like the janitor, and she basically forms this bond with the octopus at the aquarium, kind of starts to talk to him, and through that she is kind of uncovering the mystery of what happened to her son 20 years previously. This was good. It was very sentimental, as you can imagine, but I think maybe this is just not the book for me. I think it was a little bit too much build up. Like, it felt like, I'm not sure what the words are. It kind of moseyed along, and it made sense why, but I just don't think these are the types of books I like, where it's like so much build up for like a kind of obvious ending, just for the sake of kind of being sentimental and emotional. I do think I like some of those books, and this was a good one. It was like well done, well written. I didn't like the other main character. His name was Cameron, I think, and he becomes intertwined with our other main character. I wish I could remember her name. T or something. I can't remember. But he becomes entwined with her and with the octopus at the aquarium, and he kind of annoyed me for like a lot of the story. I feel like he was just like this character who like was like drifting through life, which I understand why. I understand what they were trying to do. But he was kind of like rude sometimes. I don't know. He was just like pissing me off a little bit. Not my favorite. I will say I also watched the movie adaptation for this in my vlog, and I really enjoyed the movie. It was like a fun, sweet, wholesome movie. Very beautiful. It was good. It was not life-changing, either of them, but fun. Next, I read Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is a classic, obviously. I did really enjoy this one. This one's a shorter book. This is about Dorian Gray, and basically one day his friend creates a portrait for him, a beautiful, stunning portrait, and he basically becomes jealous of himself in the portrait, saying like he'll never be as young as he was in that moment and never be as beautiful. And the story basically is a lot about beauty, what it means, and I guess kind of how different people see it. You know, there's characters in this who think beauty is the ultimate value, and if you are not beautiful, if you don't have beauty, whatever, then you are essentially a bad person. And also kind of this idea that art is for beauty and for the sake of beauty and nothing else, which I thought was really interesting. There's a lot of really fun quotes in this, a lot of really good, interesting ideas. I think I was watching a video about it afterwards, because with classics, I definitely like to go and like watch some like analysis and stuff. I feel like, one, it reminds me of high school and like when I would take like AP Lit, and then we would like discuss it. I think I really enjoy that aspect, so I like to go watch videos and stuff. And I think one person said that Oscar Wilde was known for, I think they're called epigraphs, something like that, but it's basically like these like throwaway kind of quotes, like, or like musings basically, where he would just like say like, oh, like, I wish I could think of one right now. I wrote them in my notes, but I'm using my phone to film, so I can't do it. But like basically he would just like say these really cool, like, not cool, but like really interesting like ideas and like motifs, and just like throw it out there with nothing else. And so this is his only novel, but he would have like collections of epitaphs, I think they're called, which I think is really interesting. It makes a lot of sense. There's a character in this who I feel like that was like his whole shtick, and oh my god, he got really annoying. But yeah, this was so interesting. I loved the like kind of darker supernatural elements involved, and I really loved Dorian Gray as a character, and Basil Henry, no, I hated him. Obviously you're not supposed to like him, but like, ugh, he was so annoying. I was like, stop talking. So anyways, I did really enjoy this, and I feel like I've been doing pretty good this month with classics, so I'm happy to continue that streak. The last book I finished in June was 7 Days in June, which, how fitting. And this is by Tia Williams. This is a romance of two writers who basically had this kind of, I think the book describes it as a whirlwind romance or something. I would not say that, but they basically met when they were teenagers, spent 1 week together, and then don't see each other again for like 15 years, come back together and basically admit that they both had been kind of writing about each other in their books, and now are kind of rekindling that romance. Unfortunately, I did give this a 2.5, although I could be rounded up to a 3. I could be rounded up to a 3. This one, there's so much to it. For me, this just didn't land, unfortunately. I don't even know how to like fully wrap my head around why I didn't like it. I think partially the whole idea that the premise of this book is that they met when they were teenagers. And that's where this like whirlwind romance like stemmed from, and it like inspires 15 years of writing about each other and like whatever. I just like am not fully on board with this like idea of the romance that happened as teenagers or as they got older. They basically are both very troubled teenagers, and they meet and spend a week together where they're doing terrible things with each other, and none of it to me seemed like love. I read some reviews, and I feel like I agreed that it was a lot just like codependency and like bad coping mechanisms, like feeding off of each other. And to me, there was just nothing romantic about that. It was like, literally, I was like, this is like, I feel like a chapter out of some kind of crazy mental health book where they just like both needed help. And also, I think which I understand that there are people who obviously go through very terrible things, and they don't always have the best coping mechanisms, and sometimes they find people, and you know, that's natural. I understand that. But I think because the book only gave us really that side of them as teenagers, it just felt like so overly dramatic, overly exaggerated, to the point where it was just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know. It just was not, to me, like giving romance. And then they meet later as adults, like I said, and it still felt like codependency almost. Like they became so quickly re-involved and obsessed with each other and attached in each other's lives, which makes sense. If you're pining over someone for 15 years, you probably too would like want to be super involved with them. I understand that. But there was just like points of the book, like one of the characters, the main male character, he basically ignored something that he had been, I totally forgot. I had my physical books and I totally forgot to show them, whatever. But he like basically disregarded his, like, someone was calling him. It was someone he knew was in like a precarious situation. He ignored it because he was with this girl that he was so excited to be with again, which I understand, but like, you're just like dropping everything. I don't know. This was not my favorite, unfortunately. I feel like there were so many references in this which at first were fun. I love a good reference, but like I feel like they were a little bit much, and it also kind of dates the book. I feel like I just didn't, I don't know. To me, I think I need to like really obviously be invested in a love story to want to read the romance and be excited about it. And I wasn't, and there was just not a lot of factors that were engaging me otherwise. So I did not like this one. I will say the thing I did like was that the character kept talking about this book that she wanted to write. She was like an supernatural erotica writer, which slay, but she kept talking about this book she wanted to write about her mother and her grandmother and her great grandmother and how they were all kind of raised and like she was like studying, or she was kind of like finding out more about her family history in Louisiana and like blah blah blah. And I was like, I would read that book. Like I want to read that. So I don't know, but not my favorite. Lastly, I will also say that I am currently reading The Veins of the Drowning. I actually am pretty close to finishing this. I probably could have finished it before this video, but c'est la vie. And this is so good. I think this is probably going to be a 5-star. It is part of my mermaid, pirate / ocean themed reading vlog that I'm doing that will be out not by the time this is uploaded, but hopefully soon after that. And I'm having so much fun with it. It is about a girl who is a siren with wings, which is cool, and she has to basically form this bond and deal with a king to escape the kingdom that she lives in because it is a bad sitch. And along the way she's finding more about her history, about her parents, about being a siren, about magic, and the tension. Talk about a romance. The tension in this book is beautiful. The characters, oh my god, I'm like kicking my feet and giggling when I'm reading this. It's so fun. So I will probably be finishing that this week, and it'll be in my mermaid reading vlog, so look out for that if you want to hear more thoughts, and it'll be in my next wrap up. But I think that is all of the books that I'm going to be talking about today. That was my June wrap up. Again, not my best month, but there's always next month. And again, I feel like it was a good balance of doing the things that I wanted to do outside and with friends and also reading. So you gotta find some balance. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.